Blazing Saddles is a movie that they say could never be made today. But what if you made it animated and turned the people into cats and dogs and rated it PG? Then what? Well, you would have Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new theatrical animated film, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. It was originally called Blazing Samurai. So yes, there's definitely a connection here to that 70s Mel Brooks classic film. We're going to talk about all of that here momentarily. But first, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video and my channel. I do TV and movie reviews here constantly, several every single week. So do check those out. And please subscribe to my channel down below there if you are so inclined. So let's get into this movie. Like I said, this is maybe not exactly like Blazing Saddles, right? It's not necessarily a remake, but depending on where you look, it's, been called everything from a loose adaptation to inspired by, but it takes enough from that movie that Richard Pryor, who has been dead for like 25 years, is credited as a writer on Paws of Fury. So obviously there is a lot of, the main ideas and maybe some specific jokes even from Blazing Saddles that made their way into this movie. This is a movie that has been in the works for a long, long time. I think 2010 was the earliest they were really talking about it, and for a while it was going to come out in maybe 2017, then it was 2019, and then it turns out they didn't even really start animating most of it until COVID. So this is actually a pretty new movie. It's not one that they made long ago and sat on the shelf, but it's been in the works for a long time. And Mel Brooks himself does a voice here. He plays the Shogun. He's in a few scenes. And of course, he's credited as a co-writer as well. But some other names that you're going to recognize for sure. Samuel L. Jackson is sort of the retired samurai. He plays Jimbo. He is very reluctant to be a new teacher, a new sensei. But Hank, who is this dog played by Michael Cera, wants to be a samurai in this world of cats. And, of course, cats and dogs hate each other, much like in the original movie. You've got more, sort of race relations as opposed to different animals. But he is basically based around Sheriff Bart from Blazing Saddles. And then the Samuel L. Jackson character is sort of based on the Waco Kid from Blazing Saddles. You also have Ricky Gervais, who is a sommelier cat who wants to really take over and run things, and thinks that sending a dog samurai into the mix would be the easiest way to do that. He has a whole plan, and that's based on kind of Hedy Lamarr from Blazing Saddles. And then Mel Brooks, like I said, plays the Shogun. And George Takei is here. Fluffy's here. Gabriel Iglesias, Michelle Yeoh, Asif Manvi, Jimin Hansu. So a lot of names that maybe you'll recognize. But yeah, this is an interesting movie. I took my nephew to it, who is 11, and I think he enjoyed it as an animated movie. I think, some of the fight scenes he thought were cool, and there were some jokes that landed, certainly the more, toilet-based humor. And there is a gigantic toilet in this movie. So when I say toilet humor, sometimes it's literally about a toilet. So that's, part of it. But there's fart jokes and poop jokes and all that kind of stuff to appeal to kids. But there are a ton of jokes in this movie that go very, very fast and furiously at us, and breaking the fourth wall, and stuff that I don't think little kids are going to understand at all. And it's not that they're necessarily even like dirty jokes. A lot of PG movies these days in the animated world, really thanks to Shrek, I think, have sort of more adult themed, more mature jokes that little kids are not going to get. But that's not even what this is. This is more like making references to things that even I'm almost too young for at 44. Like, are these jokes directly lifted from Blazing Saddles? I don't know. I'm not even sure if I've ever seen that movie in full. But what I have seen was so long ago. I just don't really remember. Except for some of like the most famous scenes that you see all the time in like retrospectives. But so it's hard to say how much of this is cribbed directly from Blazing Saddles, but certainly all of the characters, like I mentioned, have sort of, counterparts in that movie that we sort of see the archetypes for here. So yeah, the humor is really, really hit or miss. I would say way more jokes fall flat than actually land. And for a kids movie, that's not necessarily a good thing. However, something I will give it above other kids movies, sort of in this ilk of like, having a joke every 8 seconds or whatever, where they're flying fast and furiously at you. I will say that this one, and maybe it's because of the Blazing Saddles connection, does have a pretty interesting plot and characters that you can care about. And some of the action sequences are pretty cool. Now, I will say it's pretty violent for a PG animated film, and maybe because it's cats, we can get away with it. But like, there's some beheadings. I mean, there's a lot of like straight murder in this movie, and blowing things up and lighting things on fire and all of that sort of stuff. So I think this is probably not for the real youngsters. I think, my nephew being 11, okay, that's fine. But I'd say probably 7 or 8 and up for this movie, due to that. But I have really mixed feelings about it because I think a lot of things did not work about it. And the animation itself is not that attractive. It's kind of ugly. And it makes sense. It's from sort of an off-brand studio, and then Nickelodeon and Paramount sort of, join forces. Well, Nickelodeon is owned by Paramount, and originally it was going to be a Paramount movie, but for whatever reason, from what I read, they shuffled it into the Nickelodeon fold. In fact, there's a Big Nate short in front of this movie, which is interesting because I feel like even Disney and Pixar have sort of gotten away from doing shorts for the most part. I think there was one in front of Encanto, but whatever. There's a Big Nate short in front of this movie, which is also extremely bizarre. I can just picture the parents of the audience being like, what is going on with this thing? It's like a dream sequence thing. But that aside, we're not going to grade the Big Nate short. But this whole movie kind of does have that feel of like, half the time I was just like, what is happening in this movie? There's a lot of fourth wall breaking that I'm not sure if little kids are going to understand. So as an adult film, and I don't mean obviously a porno, but like a movie that adults will enjoy perhaps more than kids, I think it probably works on that level. I think there's things kids will like about it, but the box office results, I think, speak for themselves. I mean, opening weekend, it's not expected to even break into the top 3. And that's not great, for a new animated movie. Usually those are way up high there on the list. So I have really mixed feelings about this movie. So I'm just going to sort of leave it right down the middle. I'm going to leave Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank with a C. I think if the joke ratio landed a little bit more, if it was more like a 60 or 70%, but I would say it's less than 50% on the jokes. Definitely one of the weaker elements of this movie. So, all right, thanks so much for watching. We'll see everybody next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.